adjustable timing gear setup. So this is just the hub for that gear. We'll be putting the gear on today. And this is the KDP. I'm going to be fixing that. Sorry, I got the bolt loose. I'm not sure if you can see down in there, but that pin next to that bolt head is a steel pin. So this truck did not, like I said, the KDP was done, so I went over, made a bunch of them before, so just went and drew this up, got it on the bandsaw. Doesn't need to be pretty. It's going behind an engine oil case, and we're going to stick it on. One thing with this being 1/8 inch thick, we're going to use a longer bolt. We're going to use one of the front cover bolts. They're about 2-3 millimeters longer, so that'll help not pulling threads out. The other thing we're going to want to do is rotate the engine over and grab the cam bolts, the oil pump bolts, and the other front cover bolts, and make sure that they're all torqued. We're probably going to go up to 22 foot-pounds on all those, just to make sure that they stay good. Yeah, a lot of times they're loose, if not not at 18 anymore. So another thing to note. Our few bolts we're going to do, obviously the KDP's bolt is right here, 22 foot-pounds. There's one above the oil pump between the cam gear, 22 foot-pounds. And then there are 2 or 3 behind the gear. You have to rotate the engine to find those, as well as the cam gear's bolts. As well, you can access them through the cam gear's holes. We're using the Savage Fab front main seal tool to turn the engine over, so that'll make this job really easy. Another thing you can see, there are 2 zeros and there's a single 0 on the cam gear. Only the double 0 will line up with the 0 on the crank. So the classic broken pin, we actually think that the thing's been this way the entire time we've owned it. So got out old trusty billet pin and put the engine at its TDC. The pump is locked in place. I don't like to call it locked because it's actually not really locked. If we turned the pump snout, it would break the lock instantly because it's made out of plastic. It's just the terminology that's used. I don't think I've ever seen any videos of the PDD adjustable timing gear, so that'll be also in this video. So this hub normally would not be on, but it was already on the pump when we got it. But this has a tapered shaft still on the pump, and it's a tapered index on the other side. The only difference is that you actually use the keyway when you use a drive hub. So the keyway goes on, this goes on, then you torque it to spec once it's on the truck. But with an adjustable gear, it's super easy to do all this. You put the hub all on. You would normally have to torque the hub to spec once the gear's on, but still the same thing applies. You put the pin you put the pump on its pin, you put the truck on its pin, and then you would slide this on. What we're going to do is we're going to set the bolt holes for adjustability in the center. The pump is pinned, so it was at 20 degrees on pin. It's been changed from its OEM setup, but it's now at 20 degrees on pin, so we know here is 20 degrees. With the engine at TDC, we're going to put it in the middle because we want to do videos showing the effects of timing, from retarding timing to advancing timing. What do we see on the dyno? So that's like why one of the reasons why I wanted to do the adjustable gear on the nose of this thing is so we can show the effects of timing and brake specific fuel consumption ratio on the chassis dyno. We did put a plate in the pump. The pump came with no plate in it, so we put a plate in there. It does have some custom AFC foot on it. I think it's one of PDD's AFC foots. So the next step is to put this on. So these are your timing adjustments. There's a small screw that goes in here just for holding it in place, I believe. I don't think you'd leave it in there. My 2 cents. But that's what we're going to do. Because the pump was locked, so just stuck my hand. And then came over to where the pump lock is. I don't know if you can see way down in here. Underneath this cap is the pump lock. So These little plastic tangs go on a male side inside the pump, and that's how you know the pump's on pin. When the pump's on pin, it's on whatever the timing the builder or the OEM set it at. If it's OEM, it's located on the side of the timing case cover. We'll show you that. If it's been rebuilt, you can have the pump builder change where the pin's at. So once you're done using it, flip it over, put it back in its respective hole, and tighten it up. We don't gotta worry about it sliding over here because these are all pretty snug. From here we can come in and we can torque all these, torque the hub down. Obviously the hub nut's loose, and we're in good shape. Everything's going smooth. Put your timing pin back in, but not all the way in for the engine. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to use the front main seal. This just so happens to be a billet front cover. I'm going to go see if I can find a steel cover as well, so we can press a used seal and do a steel cover. So we do recommend that you use a press, whether it's a Harbor Freight small press or a big press, an upper press, whatever you got, to do the front one. Just because it really needs to be straight, and it's 100 times easier if you do the job with a press. We're knock the old one out. We have our front tool. We have the tool that comes with the seal. You want to leave the rubber in there. You get a plastic piece. You can pop this out if you want. It's just hard to put them back in sometimes. I don't think these billet ones are tapered. Because I don't think that they're tapered, we're going to apply some retaining compound and Loctite on it. I'll have to have you help. Here, on top of our steel tool. I'm going to hold that up. From the back side. They all leak. It's the bane of this seal. So as you can see on our billet front cover, we're able to do it from the nose side, and using the press, what we would do is we would cheat the base tool that goes on the seal. We would cheat it just to one side or not of the aluminum to make small fine adjustments to get it square in there. You do not have to remove the plastic sleeve. That also helps you install this. This sleeve goes over the crank. You just shove this over the crank and then pull that sleeve out of there. It'll actually push itself out most of the way, and carefully with some pliers and just pull it the rest of the way out. So now that this is in here, you're going to go ahead and get this on the truck. I'm going to go see if I can't find a steel one, and we'll do this again with a steel cover. Right here is tapered from one end to the other, so when you take them out, you're going to drive them out from this side, and when we put them back in, we're going to put them in from this side here. Factory cover. Because of the snout, you're going to need spacers, something like this to support as much as you can of the cover surface. We're going to get our seal in place. Now when doing the back side, you just really got to make sure that this lid of the installed tool is where it's supposed to be. You do want to do a different height because of wear on the crank. You can change the installed height, but the tool that comes with the seal is designed to just go flush with the back of the cover. When doing them in these covers, don't usually use any sealant because it is a tapered fit. Once it's flushed in there, we have even push or install height all the way around, and it's good to go. So that's how you use the front main seal tool for either a billet cover or the factory cover. The factory cover, you're going to install it from the back. The aftermarket cover, you saw us put it in from the front. You don't believe that there's a taper in that part. There's doubles for turning the engine over. So when doing timing and stuff, it's real handy to use this to hold the engine position while timing the pump. It's handy while engine building. Turn the crank over to install rods. And it's just like a real cheap alternative to the ones out there. I have the fleece one, and it works really nice, and it's designed to fit comm rails and all that stuff. Ours is just made for the 89 to 02 motors as far as sitting flush on there. It just goes on there temporarily. Turn the motor over or just put seals in, and from there you can use it to turn the engine over, hold the engine in place, do all kinds of cool stuff. Thanks for watching. This is Sad Fabrication. Insta Spool Performance. Have a good day. So when you're putting the front cover on, make sure that they, just like the instructions say, the front main area is free of oil and debris. That to come down in here and slide over our crank. Let's take a little bit of force, but work her on. We're reusing the gasket that was here. We just don't have another one. That looks to be in all right shape, and with the billet cover, the sealing surface is a lot thicker, a lot flatter. It's not a stamp piece, so our ability to apply more force to that gasket hopefully keep us from having leaks. If we have a leak, we'll take it off, order a kit, because if I want a front main seal or if I want the gasket for this, they come together. So either way, I'd get another one and change them out.
At least you don't have to take a fan off.
No. Probably going to go to a time lapse. So everything's on but a few bolts. Those being, there's the bottom one that's going to use the OEM little spacer that's for belt slap, and then this billet front cover on. It's no different if you're doing the OEM cover, just different hardware. We still got to tighten up the adjustable gear bolts. Still need to torque all these bolts, but one step closer. Should have this thing running in the next few days. So it's exciting and should be helpful as far as doing front cover stuff.